Oh, hello. I have to take a shit, but the demon from early 2010s YouTube is hiding just outside a frame, and he's keeping me here until I review this game. And I can't move the camera, because if I touch the camera, I will die instantly. Also, this is my 100th video. 100 videos, and number 100 is Sonic the Hedgehog from 2006. How fitting is that? Ugh. God, where do I begin? Like, genuinely, I don't even know where to start. Well, the planning phase for this game actually started way back in 2003 after Sonic Team finished development on Billy Hatcher. Originally planned to be released on the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, they realized that it would likely be during the 50th anniversary year, so they decided to go all out and shoot for the 7th generation of consoles. Big mistake, as they realized that a Wii release would likely be just not possible, and so the team was split into two. One team working on this game, and one team working on a game using the Wii's motion controls. This left a very small team for a mainline game releasing on brand new consoles, and then just to sweeten the deal, they were heavily pressured into a holiday 2006 release date, which meant that there was little to no time for polish. They were basically ignoring quality assurance as they had no choice but to churn out a game as fast as they possibly could to meet the deadline. So you take an unusually small team, brand new hardware, extreme pressure to meet deadlines, put that in the oven at 400 degrees, and you'll get third-degree burns. And it'll still be more enjoyable. Before going into the individual stories, let me get some universal issues out of the way. Firstly, the hub areas just straight up suck. It's almost never clear where you need to go, the map doesn't help, you could spend like 10 minutes looking for the next objective. And next is the loading screens. They aren't too long on their own, I've dealt with worse. But there are just so many. Sometimes you have to do missions in the hub world by talking to NPCs, then it loads. Then they tell you what you need to do. And then it loads. And then you win. And it loads. And sometimes, in the middle of levels, the game will just stop so it can load. And for all the loading that this game does, it has serious slowdown and pop-in issues. What was it loading this whole time? And lastly, this game's fucking camera. Jesus. It is never where you want it to be. It is never helpful during boss fights. Most of my deaths were probably because the camera just refused to work with me. This game has multiple stories, or episodes I think the game calls it, similar to Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 and Heroes. So, Sonic's the only one available at the start as per usual. Let's start there. Sonic story starts and... So this... It froze. To be fair, that's probably because this disc was really scratched when I got it. It was $5, and whoever owned it before me just didn't take care of it. I can't imagine why. So this woman is Elise, the princess of Soliana, and for some reason, Eggman wants her, so he kidnaps her, and Sonic gives chase. He finds her and escapes when a new hedgehog named Silver shows up and calls Sonic a racial slur.
Iblis trigger!
Come on now. You know that was racially motivated. Hard R and everything. He tries to kill Sonic, and during their fight, Eggman snatches Elise again, and Silver almost kills Sonic until Amy shows up to save him. Knuckles finds a note from Eggman saying he'll return Elise for a Chaos Emerald. Sonic knows it's a trap and as such, willingly runs right into it. What? The cutscene before made it seem like they were going to do a jailbreak, break Elise out because Eggman told him where they are. But no, he just gives up the Chaos Emerald and willingly walks into Eggman's trap. And this room looks like where you fight Agnes in DMC4. Anyway, Eggman turns on a machine that sends Team Sonic through time and they wind up in the distant future, where Shadow and Rouge just so happen to be. They search for a way back, find out that Elise dies when the egg carrier crashes, so more reason to go back in time. They find a Chaos Emerald, fight this thing, then they find another emerald so they can go back to the present. And what's worse is that they fucking use Chaos Control to do it. What can't Chaos Control do? Seriously, what can't it do at this point? Sonic saves Elise again and they escape, but Eggman threatens Soliana if she doesn't comply, so she turns herself over. Then you play the first level again, but it's Tails, so it's somehow worse. Sonic spends an hour on this one stupid fucking trial and chases Eggman with Silver's help this time. Then, Elise fucking dies. The egg carrier crashes and Eggman and Elise just fucking bite it. Thankfully, nothing matters because they can just chaos control to before it happened and prevent it. So Sonic goes back in time and saves her from Eggman. Credits. What a nothing fucking story. It's just Elise being captured by Eggman and then saved, but then captured again. Like, Silver just shows up a couple times. I completely forgot Shadow was even in this story. And time travel, in my book, almost always a bad idea. But Sonic games having bad stories is nothing that I'm not used to or can't handle. How does the game play? It doesn't. Sonic's gameplay is pretty much the same as Adventure 2 on paper. The game feels sluggish, which is really bad for a Sonic game. The homing attack just does whatever it wants. It'll lock onto a grind whale way the fuck over there, or even try to escape the game itself. This game suffers from slowdown like I mentioned all the damn time. Some features just don't work, like walls, or the homing attack, or this ability with Elise that I think is supposed to be a shield, but just isn't. Also, this is the only time that this meter does anything for Sonic. There is nothing Sonic can do with his base moveset or any of the moves that you can buy, because yes, there are multiple parts where you just have to buy a move to progress, but nothing uses this meter. It's just taking up UI space for no reason. Sometimes ramps are just anything that launch you won't send you far enough and you'll die, and air control from any of those things is super stiff, so it's not like you can correct yourself. Oh my god, the snowboard just straight up doesn't function. The jump just won't be high enough sometimes. It's not fast. Look at this. It's Adventure 2. It's fucking cool and awesome. This shit just randomly freezes. Things just don't work. The Mach speed sections control like straight ass even if it's not glitching. It is so sensitive. It is just so easy to just overshoot, run into a wall, just fly the fuck off the stage. Controlling Sonic is an uphill battle. And Tails and Knuckles don't fare any better, but they're seldom used, so it's really just not worth mentioning. They're slow, their attacks suck, and there is just no fun to be had with them. Okay, that's over with, so I guess let's try Silver next. I got a glimpse of him during the Sonic stories, so I'm prepared for the opening cutscene crashed again. Silver lives in the future, which is constantly on fire because of this monster named Iblis. After a battle with Iblis, a being who looks like a Shadow alt color appears and tells Silver and Blaze that they can save the future if you go back in time and kill the Iblis trigger, which still sounds like a slur. So this guy named Mephiles sends them back in time. Silver hunts down Sonic, finds him, almost kills him, but he gets away. I mean, Silver does question if killing Sonic is actually the right thing to do, but Memphis over here is just really insistent that Sonic has to die. What is he, evil or something? Once Silver catches up to Sonic, Shadow appears and kicks him in the head.
Ah! Chaos control!
Bam! During their fight, they accidentally open a time portal with chaos control, and Shadow decides to show Silver why he can't trust Mephiles. So they go back in time and watch as both Iblis and Mephiles are created in a lab under Soliana. Elise's father was doing what all scientists do, playing God with substances they don't understand. And I can't keep putting this off. This setting really reminds me of Devil May Cry 4. The opening cutscene reminds me of Fortuna. Elise looks like Kyrie, the room that looks like Agnes's lab, and the leader doing highly unethical experiments trying to play God. Was DMC4 just based off of this game? Is that why they just didn't finish it? In the past, Shadow seals Mephiles and Silver chases Iblis when the king, whose name I don't know, realizes that he has to seal Iblis within Elise, which is why she can't cry because that will set everything on fire. I also forgot to mention the she can't cry part in Sonic's story because really, it's not really ever important at all. But with the knowledge of what really happened in the past 10 years ago, Silver decides that he needs to help Sonic save Elise and runs off to help him. Elise explodes, Sonic goes back in time, and Silver returns to the future to kill Iblis forever. Silver tries to use his body as a vessel for the flames, but is rejected, so Blaze, who I forgot was in this game, takes his place and is sealed in a different dimension to save the world. I don't care about his story. There's a lot of time travel, which I already said I don't care for. If Sonic went back in time and saved Elise, then why is the future still fucked? I guess because she'll die eventually, but then why are we doing any of this? And it could be because of the gameplay, but I just felt completely numb during every cutscene. Anyway, Silver is the slowest character and is more focused on just straight up platforming. He can use psychokinesis to pick up objects and projectiles and even enemies to throw. It's goofy and I kind of love it. The levels still suck, but this has been the closest to decent the game has been. And I think that because Silver is slower, he controls a bit better and the game doesn't break as much. But when using projectiles, the slowdown is definitely at its worst because it just cannot handle explosions, let alone an explosion that breaks a box. What do you think you think I'm running this on a NASA computer? You can't handle that. The gameplay is very simple and straight up just brain dead at times because the solution is usually just fucking throw something. But it's the closest thing I've had to fun so far, even if the levels are still fucking boring and too fucking long. And also, I don't like that his glide and grab ability both use meter. I feel like the glide should have been like Tails', where it just refills immediately when you land. It's just kind of annoying here because you'll float, land, and then you have to wait a second. It just kills time. It could have been streamlined. He also plays Amy at one point, and I hated it. She can double jump, but her hammer just sucks as a weapon and has way too small of a hitbox. But Blaze, who you play as I think only twice, is actually really cool conceptually, but she suffers from the worst of this game's one-button syndrome, and that's been a problem since Sonic Adventure, but it's at its worst here. This game only uses X and square for pretty much everything, so with Blaze having multiple abilities means you'll almost never use the one that you want to. But all in all, as dull as it was and as much as the hub worlds annoyed the shit out of me, I can tolerate this better than I could Sonic's story. I mean, it's still not fun, it can be infuriating at times, but more often than not, it functioned and you get the tiniest bit of enjoyment out of using psychokinesis to just throw shit. Shadow's story starts with a cutscene that didn't crash. But he's working for Gun. You know what? I don't really care enough to question it. He helps Rouge escape Eggman's base, where she was sent to find this scepter. They're ambushed at the extraction point by Eggman, however, causing the scepter to break and release Mephiles, who takes form from Shadow's Shadow. Mephiles remembers Shadow from the accident 10 years ago and sends him and Rouge into the future, where they meet up with Team Sonic to find the Chaos Emeralds to go back. But once they open the portal, Shadow stays behind to confront Memphis. In the present, Rouge finds Omega and gives him a Chaos Emerald to give to Shadow in the future. And also, this person on the radio refers to the Scepter of Darkness as a book, which even the subtitles knew was bullshit. Mephiles shows Shadow that humanity will turn on him in the future and capture him. So, he and Shadow should team up. But Shadow isn't about that bullshit, and is saved when Omega shows Mephiles the superior power of his machine gun kiss. And also, Mephiles transformed into his more powerful form. I mean, he still looks like Shadow, but he doesn't look like a lazy recolor of Shadow, who didn't have a mouth. They get back to the present and search for Eggman to see what he wanted with Mephiles. He says it has something to do with the Solaris incident 10 years ago, and when a time portal opens when Shadow and Silver are fighting, they go witness the incident for themselves. So the king was experimenting with Iblis and Mephiles to try to gain Solaris' control over time so the people could use it. Obviously playing God, it goes wrong. Silver helps seal Iblis and Elise, and Shadow seals Mephiles into the scepter. They return to the present, Omega finds Mephiles and fucking... Mephiles escapes to the desert where Shadow and crew find him and kick him in the face. They try to seal him into the scepter, but it doesn't work. So Shadow decides to remind Mephiles that he's that guy and starts fighting again in a cutscene that I didn't get to watch because it crashed. Roll credits. I guess this was the most interesting story as it was dealing with a new threat, so I guess I don't mind it. But I'm sick of seeing some of these cutscenes for the third time. And also every level has been reused by this point, so I'm sick of these levels too. Granted, they're different, unlike in Sonic Heroes. For example, I think Kingdom Valley you actually go through backwards. But I don't like playing these levels regardless of how you do it, so it still sucks. Shadow plays a lot like Sonic, so take all of the control issues I had with him and add on the clunkiness of Shadow's unique abilities. He can homing attack, but because you can do follow-up attacks, you have to wait a second to do it again, which always feels weird, and sometimes it just doesn't work. There's no impact to his attacks, so you just are there, mashing X until the thing ragdolls. He can also breakdance, which I forget is the thing, and oh boy, he has vehicles, and most of them just straight up suck. Like, the motorcycle controls like shit. If it gets stuck, then it just gets fucking stuck. Speaking of stuck, I forgot to write this into the script, but there were multiple points where Shadow just got stuck and didn't move, so I'm mashing buttons trying to get him to move, and then he homing attacks off of a fucking cliff. That's a whole ordeal. And I also have no idea what his meter does. He glows. Does it do more damage? I couldn't really tell. Did it make me faster? I don't know. It didn't make me invincible. I don't get what it does. Rouge controls like Knuckles did, but instead of physical attacks, she throws bombs. She's fine, I guess. She has the only level that I got any enjoyment from because it was like 2 minutes and really fucking easy. And Omega's weird because I don't like how he works. I don't get it. Sometimes he can lock on, sometimes he doesn't. But fighting him with Mephiles was really fucking cool because you just fucking blow him up. Alright, just the last story left, which, for the record, started without my consent. I was trying to end the recording for Shadow's last session, and the game just decided to start up last story. And then to make it worse, one of the cutscenes froze before it even started, so I couldn't even skip it and had to troubleshoot to get it to fucking work. I was really tempted to just not finish the game. You have to understand that. I put in work to get to this point in the game. I had to finish it. So, we see that Mephiles got away with the Chaos Emerald, so he flashbangs and kills Sonic. This game isn't fucking real, man. This causes Elise to cry, releasing Iblis, and Mephiles uses the emeralds to merge with him, creating Solaris, who spans all of time and plans to wipe out every timeline.
What is this?
Purgatory. So, Sonic is dead, and everyone is just contemplating the inevitable, until Silver gets the idea to have Elise use the Chaos Emeralds to revive Sonic. So everyone goes to retrieve an emerald and Sonic is successfully revived. I didn't get to see it because this cutscene also crashed. Maybe should have spent more than $5, but I wasn't about to do that for a game I'm never going to play again. Sonic, Silver, and Shadow go super and start destroying Solaris. Now Solaris exists across all time, so killing him should be impossible. But that would be true if it wasn't for one thing, one key plot detail. His world is plot. They fight Solaris until Sonic and Elise are taken way back in time to see the Flame of Hope which Solaris was created from. Elise makes the choice to blow out the flame to make sure that none of this ever happens, so everyone caught off without needing to experience this game, except me. I get that for a climactic ending with Super Sonic, you obviously need Sonic, but I feel like I would have preferred if Shadow and Silver dealt with Solaris on their own, which sent Elise back in time, and she chose to extinguish the flame on her own, choosing to have never met Sonic in order for him to live, and then that would be what brings Sonic back. I think it would have just been more impactful. Or even have Super Sonic be alive in the past and destroy Solaris in that instant, and have that be the climactic final boss. It's not perfect, but it would have been a bit more interesting story-wise, to have death mean something. The final boss would have been cooler if I knew what I was doing, and getting the emeralds was the least fun thing I've done in this game, which is saying a lot. Looking at a man who just played Sonic 06, I can't believe this game exists. I don't believe this game exists. As someone who has played it, I do not believe that this game exists. It is broken, buggy, unstable, unfair, and bullshit. And never once was fun. I was going in thinking that Sonic fans talking about this game were just being Sonic fans. I don't respect their opinions. I own this. There are people who have compared this game to other bad games that I will get to later in this marathon, and now that I've played this game myself, those are insane comparisons. There are a few games coming up in this marathon that I do not like and am not looking forward to, but to compare them to this pile of shit would be criminal. The most fun I had playing this game was pausing to take a violent shit during Sonic's story. And I can't even blame the devs. They had a deadline to meet and a very small team and brand new hardware. Everything was stacked against them, and the fact that this game is even beatable is frankly a miracle. Reviewers said that only the most blind Sonic fanboy could squeeze any enjoyment out of this game. And you're looking at the most blind Sonic fan. I liked Shadow the Hedgehog. Even though I had a lot of negative shit to say about Sonic Heroes, I still think that game is enjoyable in its own way. But this, there is no enjoyment I think anyone can get out of this other than pointing and laughing at it. It is exactly as bad as everyone said. If I had played this back when it came out, I probably would have never gotten into the series. But I didn't play it when it came out. I was 2 years old. I've played a few games for this channel that I don't like and are bad. Devil May Cry 2, Metroid on NES, Crash Bash. But this is different. I cannot see myself ever playing this again, even just to rip on it. I hate this game in a way that words will not ever do justice. Which is why I am uploading highlights from the recording sessions edited together by my good friend Heinz. Say hi, Heinz. One of those should have already came out because it needed to for this to be the 100th video I've ever uploaded. And then the other ones will come out whenever he's done with it. But I felt like the world had to see my raw experience with this game. So, and I thought it'd be fun because I was talking some decent shit during my recording sessions. And I haven't turned a review into a playthrough since Devil May Cry 2. So it all comes back around. Well, that's over. Thank God that's over. But I haven't heard many good things about Sonic and the Secret Rings, which is next for Sonic. But we do have to go back to God of War. So join me next time when I delay the inevitable by looking at God of War Ghosts of Sparta, the other PSP prequel game for the God of War series. It's not going to last very long, but I'll be free for a few hours.